And I thought it was quite appropriate in dealing with ethics and it being a bit of a pickup convention. No, I didn't mean to say that. A lot of you guys are probably here for the kind of like pickup and relationships and that sort of thing, and obviously a lot of the speakers are. I thought ethically it would be inappropriate to avoid the issue of love and what love really is as a concept. So, ethically, what of love? Lovely picture there. Fundamentally, to love is to value. Now, I go into a bit of a debate over whether or not love is an emotion or whether or not love is a concept that we've created to denote our value of something. And I think it's the latter, and I think if you guys are familiar with any of Nathaniel Brandon's works, as far as I'm aware, he kind of has the same sort of line of thought. Love is to value, and I think that's actually his own quote.
Sense, yes.
Yeah. So, only a man with an unyielding, uncompromised standard of value can even begin to consider love. If the love is to value, you have to have that measuring post by which you deem what is valuable. And if that's your own life, and you've got the self-esteem to be able to say that your own life is that standard of value, then you've got the means by which to judge whether or not something is valuable to yourself and whether or not you truly love it. If a man does not value himself, how can he value anything else? Love is a judgment of value. It's to say in your mind that what you love is valuable to you and your life and your happiness. To love without condition is to not love at all. By loving everyone equally, without any judgment of the value to your life they represent, you effectively love no one. It inflates love as a concept. It makes it unvaluable. How am I doing for time?
You have about 15, 20 minutes.
Okay, should be good. I feel like this is going on for ages. Okay, so...
Topic,
huh?
I think you're on a very important topic.
Yeah. Well, okay, so moving on from love, talking about relationships. Necessarily, we have to move on to the idea of rights. And what are rights? Socially, they're how man recognizes morality in other men. If man's life is an end in itself, he has to recognize that fact in every man, because every man is a man, every man is an existent, and every man necessarily has the same code of values, or should have the same code of values and the same moral value measuring post. So to attempt to not recognize that, or to not recognize that in another man, is to contradict that it exists in yourself, and that's your standard of value. So, like I say, rights are the means of recognizing the unavoidable fact in man's dealings with each other. Excuse me. So, the primary conflict then, when it comes to ethics and what determines rights and what determines how you should live your life and make your choices ethically and what is moral, what is valuable, is your own rational self-interest, whether you live for the sake of your own life, or whether you live for your own goals and your own happiness, or whether you live for the sake of others, which is altruism. Now, just to clarify, usually people look at the conflict of egoism versus altruism, and I was actually talking to someone, I can't remember who, about, I think it was, actually he's not here, about this idea of Nietzschean egoism. And I like to kind of keep that separate, and I'll go into the reasons why in just a moment, just because egoism from Nietzsche's point of view is irrational, and I'll explain why in just a moment. So the conflict from rational self-interest to altruism is ask the question, is man a rational animal? Does man have a right to his own life and his own interests? Or is he obligated to live for the sake of others? As a slave to any dictator, any omnipotent being that's some arbitrary construct, or to society itself, to the majority of others, to the mob rule of democracy. Ethics should be distinct from democracy. It doesn't have a rightful place in there, because that holds that whatever the majority says is good is moral, and whatever the minority say.
Quick question.
Yep.
The question is, does democracy have a place in government, though? Is there a proper use for it?
I think there is a proper purpose for it in but it definitely doesn't relate to any form of ethical system.
So things that aren't optional.
Things
so
that
it's
are
useful.
optional.
It's
the nature
useful
of
for things that
reality
are optional.
and the nature of man's code of values, unfortunately, certainly from my perspective and from hopefully the way I've presented it to you guys today, it's not a matter of choice. It is a necessity of reality. And when it comes to government, and I'll briefly go into politics, although I don't want to kind of dwell on it too much in this talk, it should only pertain to things that are purely optional, things that don't have an impact on directly on whether or not man can achieve his own life, his own liberty and his own happiness. So, and in fact, I was going to suggest that any of you guys haven't read it, you should read Anthony's blog post, Liberty Unlocked, Declarationism. I was going to go on to suggesting that anyway, because he does a great job of kind of debunking the whole bullshit that is government that exists nowadays. Is that good? Apply it, you know.